Everybody, it's Brian. It's the week of August 6th. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happened in the yard in the last week. We'll go ahead and start with the bananas. This is the first pod that's been out for a few different weeks now, looking good, and bananas are developed nicely. It continues to shed leaves and new rows of those flowers come out. Second pod here, also looking good. This is about a week later than the first. The third pod has also started to open up, and we've got bananas on this thing. Nice row of flowers as well. And here is the flag leaf that I talked about last week that just showed. We got another surprise this week in that I found another pod. This was a surprise. This is a newer plant. It only showed up last year. I didn't wrap it, but it's producing a pod anyway. New suckers are growing in. This is good because I'm going to lose at least 5 of these larger bananas this year. This other one in the front here, I think will flower at some point soon. Moving over to the ice cream bananas. This is something that came up this week. I saw a couple of questions about. The question was, when should I trim these, or can I trim these? You'll notice this one is broken, but if I look at the leaf is still mostly green. It's not drying out. That means it's still well connected to the plant. I go ahead and leave this because it's only got a few leaves and I want it to get the benefit of having more food for the plant, more growth. One thing I've noticed, so these are blue Java bananas. They grow a little bit differently than some of the other bananas. They have channels in the leaves, and these channels are different than the Musa Basjoos or Musa sicumensis, even the dwarf Cavendish that I have. These channels exist in the leaves, and new leaves actually grow within the channel 6 to 8 inches. And once the leaf gets about 6 to 8 inches based on their current height, it pops out of the channel, and then you can see the leaf. When you look at Musa Basjoos and how those grow, they don't have that channel. It's very open. The new leaves grow right from the center. You can see them as soon as they're new. So just a little variance that you find in one type of banana to the next. The Sabal Minors, both of them have new fronds coming up. One of these I put into the ground, and we're going to leave it here. Some of the pansies started coming back as well on the white side here. So then we have this here, Apricot Sunrise Agastache. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's what it looks like. Cool flower. I'm sure the hummingbirds are going to like this, the bees as well. We got a couple of these. They're both coming into bloom now. The Canna lilies are continuing to bloom. We've got this variety in the back. This is Australia. They've got seed pods forming as well. So at the base of each of their flowers, they form seed pods that can then be used to propagate new plants. This is a white torch lily. We had one flower come out already, but it got scorched really bad. These next two should develop better with consistent water and slightly cooler temperatures than what we had last week. One of the bigger projects I worked on this week was to install some additional drip lines for this whole middle section of my backyard. I skipped this when I earlier in the year redid a bunch of my drip lines. I just kind of ran out of time. Finally getting back to it. It's a fair amount of work going through and figuring out each one of these lines, figuring out which drip head you want on which plants, actually making the cuts and putting it all together. It does take a fair amount of time, and I did this over a couple of days, a few hours each day. In the end, it's worth it. Even with just this small section, I was spending 15-20 minutes a day watering on the hot days to make sure everything had good water, and some stuff got a little bit burnt because I was busy doing other stuff and missed a few days. So having this drip line in here means that everything's getting a little bit of water every day, and we're very unlikely to have anything dry up. The bees are loving it, sitting here on the echinacea going to town. That does it for this section. Now, all these plants are on their own drips, and I don't have to water anything anymore. Another thing that I worked on, I had one package of this reed cover, fence covering stuff left. This is what I used to cover the fence over by the pool shed. And I have this one section of fence that looks super janky. It's been pushed by the cedar tree you can see behind from my neighbor's yard there. So the fence is all kind of wonky. There's a big gap in it. So I just threw up this last piece of reed covering to improve the look of the fence back here. Makes it pretty tropical looking, and it's super cheap. These things were like $25 for a 16-foot roll of it. I also finally cut down the stalk from the color guard yucca. I'd planned on doing it earlier, but a spider made its web right there, and I didn't want to just knock them down right away. So he caught a couple of things, and now it's time. And while I was out with the clippers, I took the time to clip back the cedar tree just to give a little bit more space to this windmill palm right here. It also helps reduce the needles that fall into the yard and makes cleaning things up a little bit easier. Bees over here are happy as well. In the front yard, this is one of the Ensetes that I got a few weeks back. Man, this thing has gotten scorched. Not doing great, but still alive. Then we have this other Canna lily in the front. It's got some seed pods formed as well. And the flowers on this are super cool. I love the leaf colors. Good looking stuff. And then inside the house, I trimmed up one of my indoor plants. This was a prayer plant and ended up with a couple of extra pieces. So we threw them in water, see if we'll get these things to root. And that does it for this week. Thanks for watching. Lots going on with the bananas, of course, and the Canna lilies are the big things happening right now, apart from the project work. Bananas will continue to develop over the next few weeks, and it'll be interesting to watch and see how all these different pods develop. If you have any questions on anything you saw or any of the plants, go ahead and drop them down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching. Happy growing.